We'll look for, I know we have the one addition to the agenda, item 8.3, the asset replacement schedule. Is there anything else?
No,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Some of you guys are locked up on my screen. Are you able to hear me? Okay, Rod's got a thumbs up. Other ones are, like I say, they're people are freezing up a little bit, so I just wanted to make sure you can hear me. Good, okay. Any other additions? Seeing none, does somebody want to make a motion to adopt the agenda? Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
I'll make the motion.
Favor?
Okay.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, we know it's
That's
to
fine.
adopt the agenda, right?
Adopt the amended agenda.
Okay, all in favor? It's carried. Are there any public delegations?
Hello. We don't. Chris is here as well as Vern's in the chamber, but everybody's shaking their head. There's no delegation here.
Hold it. I want to address the public delegation. I want to acknowledge a letter that we all received in our mailbox about the fees for the dog licenses. So I just want to acknowledge to this person that we received this letter, and we've read it, acknowledged it, and are considering it.
Okay.
That would be the one from Shirley Cunningham, who's asking us to reconsider dog license fees. The raises to lower the raises that we put in our fees bylaw.
Okay, well, that would be, we can have that as a separate item at another time, and we can have some discussion on it, but, it's noted that too, our fire chief's report, and can I get a motion on this one?
You betcha.
Okay, go ahead.
That council received the fire chief's March 2021 report for information.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, I'll turn it over to our chief.
Good evening. Okay, so as you can tell, I've kind of changed the format a little bit at the suggestion of Rod. So I've done that, and in doing so, if you look at the graph, what I'm going to provide each council report will be two items, 2020 year and 2021 calendar year. 2020 year obviously is gone and done, so it's just a comparative value to have a look at how calls break down and a bar graph to kind of match both of those. So instead of me giving you numbers and statistics that way, felt it would be a little bit sort of clearer to put it in a spreadsheet that you can just see a visual on the statistics. And I've broken statistics down to county calls and town alarm calls, and then some other items down below, which is has to do with training and volunteer hours and stuff like that. So I'm going to try and track that stuff so that you guys have a little bit more of a visual of what's going on with the fire department. I've submitted my report with items. I've also items listed, and I've also added on to their fire prevention activities and fire inspection activities. This month, I've managed to make my way through 2 structures on doing inspections, and for the most part been well received from the building owners, and if there have been deficiencies, major deficiencies, they've addressed them fairly quickly. So basically what we're doing is we're ensuring the safety of the people that are in the buildings. My goal that I've set out is to try and do inspections on high residency places in town to make sure that the people that are living in these high residency locations are are doing so safely, to make sure that they've got the fire safety protections that they deserve. Outside of that, if you've got any questions, please fire away.
Okay,
Fire
well,
away.
Judy's hand came up slowly, and there was, yeah. Go ahead, Councillor Stenhouse.
Fire Chief, would you be able to speak on the proposal that Big Lakes is making in purchasing a joint fire truck?
Speak on it in reference to what? Supporting it? I do support it. I guess there's all kinds of items. Is there something that you are specifically concerned with?
Yeah, the dollar figure. If you could just enlighten the rest of council on what Big Lakes is proposing for a new fire truck?
So, Mr. Mayor, I guess, Councillor, I know some information went to intermunicipal yesterday on this. We do plan, we spoke to Big Lakes, and we're going to be doing an RFP in 2 weeks that will provide, I guess, an overview and clarity of the issues that occurred yesterday. So, we do plan on doing that at the end of the month. That's when Big Lakes is going to have some more of the details. So I just wonder, maybe it's more appropriate to wait till we have all the facts, because we might be catching Trevor a little bit off guard on some of the details. I know he's seen some of them, but not maybe everything. So just throwing that in, maybe for consideration.
Okay.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy. Well, just before we go to Councillor Gilroy, did you have anything else, Councillor Stenhouse? No? Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
Actually, two things. One, actually, I would like to hear more about this. I know Roger said at the end of the month, but since it's been brought up, I would like the mayor or any other municipal committee member to bring this up so that the rest of us aren't in the dark about what this whole thing's about a new fire truck.
We will do that.
Could you do it during your report, please?
Correct.
Sometime. Thank you.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I appreciate that you talked to Rocky Phoenix, and that you've been able to adjust the certificates on the new fire truck, the one we were paying the $500,000 for. And I appreciate the compensation for their mistake. That's awesome too. The one thing I'm looking for is delivery date.
So the delivery date, that was a discussion, and when, I'm just trying to recall here, when we had sort of finalizing discussions, they said they gave us, it was 10 to 12 weeks. And between Rod and I, we figured that we should see that truck by the end of June.
Okay, how does that affect when you first came here and said we had to get this truck? You were talking about expiration date on our truck and the repairs on our truck and the insurance on the insurance rates in our town. I'm just trying to see how all this figures in so that our residents are protected.
As far as the truck is concerned, I have outstanding things that should have been done, but I haven't done because the truck should have been here. But as far as costs incurred, I haven't incurred any costs. We're basically kind of, if you want to call it, making sure that the truck is operational and functional. But it's anything at any given day could possibly happen. But we're just hoping that truck gets here soon.
Okay, so there's no conflict with the insurance company and the dating of the truck that you were talking about previously?
Well, the truck is already well past its expiry date, so I mean, a difference of 2 months in the scheme of the big picture is not great.
Do you have, since we're talking about the truck, are you also looking at giving us a breakdown of what we need to look for replacement of the rest of your trucks and equipment, so that we can then look ahead? Since we're looking at a recreation project that way, would we be able to get something like that for your truck, say, so we know what dates to target for trying to get new trucks or new equipment?
Okay, Rita does have
in the future.
Rita has a list of all of our capital expenses. I created that for her. I can't remember when, but all of our capital expenses or capital pieces of equipment have been listed, and she has that, and basically expiry dates on that. So all of that is in the hands of our treasurer.
Great.
And maybe, to your worship, to the council, I mean, that is one of the administration's goals, is to give you a better picture of not only the fire department, but our other assets as well. I think it's extremely important for you to have a good visual as to, you know, when expenses are coming up, and we're really hoping we can do that for the 2022 budget. I mean, I would love to have a 3-year operating and a 5-year capital. I don't want to promise it, but that is something we really want to do, and think it's critical for you to have that information to make informed decisions. So we're really going to try, but I can't promise yet.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I had a couple then, if nobody else does, and one of them was from a sort of a news broadcast that I was watching on the news, and it made me think. There was a fire at a residence, and the people sent the fire truck home because they could not afford to pay the fees. I mean, it really made me think about our situation and how that works. And can people send the fire department home because they cannot afford the fees to pay it?
As far as sending the fire department home, I think I would have a hard time leaving a fire scene in the responsibility of a homeowner. Morally, I don't think I would do that. I would hope I would have the council's backing on this. As far as why they were sent home was because of the exorbitant bill. I saw the article, and I didn't really pay attention too much to whether or not it was a contracted service or if it was an actual municipal service. If it's a contracted service, those organizations are there to make money, and basically I think that's why they got sent home. As far as our situation is concerned, I actually had a resident contact me, and we had the same discussion because it has hit in media, I guess, basically. But basically, under the council's decision and discretion, any insurable event, so basically I am not sending invoices out for service calls, or if we get called out by some random person, invoices don't get called out or don't get sent out. But as far as insurable calls, so if your person does have a structure fire, the fees are in the bylaw, and they are identified that clearly. I try and work within the restrictions of the insured and the amounts that they're insured for, and ultimately if it exceeds that, then you as council have that decision to make of whether or not you are going to go with the build amount, or you're going to ultimately in council's hands?
Is it anywhere in any of the
I
bylaws?
was watching.
Is it in the bylaws anywhere that this discussion you just brought up, Brian? Is it anywhere in there? Because I'm thinking we're a town.
It is not in any of our bylaws, but it really made me think about, fire protection, and I totally understand that, most people have insurance and they'll cover some of it. But, we just recently had a structure fire. The people did not have insurance. And a lot of people do not realize that they're going to get charged. Lots of people think that their taxes cover fire suppression. And so it really brought up that question of what do people know, and can they refuse the service?
But what
If
about
they don't want to pay? Hey, I don't have insurance, don't come here.
But what about the neighbors on either side? Their houses become at risk because we're a town. That's the county
Yes.
thing. This is a town where close structures are.
Let's just say that it's a structure with no neighbors, clarity around that, so that we can make sure that we're clear, because we didn't waive the fees when they had no insurance. So that, we're asking these people to come up with a large sum of money if they have a fire, and some people might not be able to afford to do it.
So yeah,
Yes,
I think you're right, Brian, on that part. The aspect, or what I think the chief has asked is, do we support his moral judgment that he would leave a structure in there with a garden hose in April, May, June, or in winter? So I would hate to think that we would let a structure burn because somebody couldn't afford that peace of mind, and for the volunteers. If they go there and somebody says, no, legally I can send you home, I don't want you here, there'd be a lot of hard feelings trying to leave.
and I bring some of this up because we're looking at the fire protection bylaw, and I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we have to do. And I'm just not sure. What is a citizen's right to refuse the service, knowing that they have to pay for it? So if the chief can do some looking into that and bring it to, another council meeting, that would be good. But it really did have me wondering what our responsibilities are and what a citizen's rights are, given that they have to pay for this service.
Administration will take that back and just see what our legal obligations are, and that type of thing. So, yes, we'll do some of that research.
Okay, thank you. And just I like the new format of the report. The one other thing that is kind of interesting for me is what is the amount that we've invoiced out. I'm wondering if you could add a row that says, invoiced fire expenses that we've invoiced out, just to know what that amount is year by year.
Would you want that broken down just as a general? For me to do that is very easy. I'm already tracking it through work orders, so I could do it just as a round amount. I can do it as what is invoiced out to structures and what is invoiced out to motor vehicle collisions. I guess my question is, how would you like that done? Also, kind of remember, I'm trying to keep it readable on one page, so if I start adding a whole bunch of stuff in there, the print's going to get a lot smaller. So just keep that in mind. Is there something that that if I can add that, but I'm looking at it right now, and it's going to get really small if I start putting a bunch of more stuff on there.
Well, for my point of view, just one more row with total cost that's been invoiced is fine. So that's what I would say from my perspective. And
Okay, so invoice cost. Now, do you want invoice cost or do you want invoiced and paid? Because there are two different things.
Well, let's go invoiced and paid. So we know
Okay.
what's actually coming in.
So that is going to be hard for me to do because I do invoice out, but I am not aware of when the invoices are paid.
Okay, just do the out then. What's been
Okay.
invoiced out.
Okay?
Councillor Stenhouse?
With these invoices, how about if he even did it quarterly? Gave us a report quarterly instead of every report?
Yeah, I mean, he says he does it all the time anyway, so I don't know if it's a big deal to add. Or maybe, to fit it on, maybe it's another column, how much has been invoiced out at this point. Oh,
I
no, it's
can add
better
that.
month by month, yeah, sorry, yeah.
I can add the column on there, and I'll throw it in there, and that can be done.
Could it be on his other page and not even on that thing at all? Just add an extra line to his report on the other part, invoiced out. It's just, and that way we don't have to worry about messing up a really nice graphic.
Oh, it's easy to add into there. It's just gonna, I don't know. I'll have a look at it and I'll see how much smaller the print gets.
Okay.
Arlen might have to tweak up his glasses a little bit.
Okay, anything else for the chief? Seeing none, we had a motion to receive his report for information. All those in favor? All right, that is carried. Moving on to our March 23rd minutes. Can I get a motion on those? Councillor Long?
The council approves the minutes from the March 23rd, 2020 regular meeting of council as presented.
All right. Any changes needed to these minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? Passed. Moving on to item 8.1, Seniors Week. Get a motion on this one?
Nobody wants to take that.
Well, Councillor Gilroy.
As the youngest of the seniors here, right, Michael? I'll make the motion that council declare June 7th to June 13th, 2021 as Seniors Week.
Okay, any discussion on this? The one thing that I had is, I know we normally do a barbecue for them, and we're not likely going to be able to do that with COVID. Is there something else that we can do? I know last year we got the, I wasn't sure if that was Seniors Week or another week, but we did got a lot of the fire department and the RCMP together, and they did a little drive-by, honking their horns and getting their sirens going. Is there something that we can do for Seniors Week this time without and violating COVID? Councillor Long's got an idea.
Is there something that we could do in collaboration with Mr. Clegg, the museum, and do a nice montage or collage of different events and seniors' contributions to our town or to the area, and have it in the newspaper? It would be a cost, but the barbecue would have been a cost too. I don't know, just an idea.
Yeah, again, yeah, I'm the same way of throwing out ideas, trying to do something to recognize them at this point. And
I don't know.
we don't have to come up with a definitive idea right now, but if people think of something and then we can bring it up, then maybe there's something we can do or brainstorm for ideas.
Yeah.
Now, and Michael's got the one idea, and you know what? I'm not sure who's on the museum right now. The committee, Councillor Danaka. Maybe she can bring that to them and see if there's any ideas. That
Well, we were supposed to have our AGM next week, but because of the restrictions on COVID, that's canceled. I can send an email out to Darlene and the rest of the board and see if anybody has any suggestions and go from there.
Sounds good. Yeah. And I guess if there's any other ideas out there, then we'll see if we can implement them. Okay. Anything else on Seniors Week? Seeing none. Okay. All in favor? It's carried. Item 8.2, the High Prairie Physio Department. I'm going to make the motion on this one just because I'm going to slightly tweak it. And it's going to read that the council write a joint letter with Big Lakes County to Minister Tyler Shandro and our MLA Dan Williams and Pat Wren regarding the potential reduction in physiotherapy at the High Prairie Hospital to make sure they are aware of the issue and council's concerns. And I'm just going to, I amended this because of a discussion that we had at intermunicipal. The suggestion was sending a joint letter, maybe giving it a little more weight to having both communities, our municipalities signing off on it. So that was the idea. Councillor Gilroy?
Actually, I'm going to encourage you to a friendly amendment because I want to add Dr. Verna Yu as well. I want her to know, as head of HS, that she needs to look at what's happening with the North Zone leadership and what's happening up here. And I want her to know that every time we send a letter, we're going to send it to her so she recognizes High Prairie's needs. It's an HS decision, not just Minister of Health. So I'd like it to be sent as well to Dr. Verna Yu.
Yeah, no, I'm all right with that amendment. Councillor Danaka?
We also have now I don't know if this can be a multiple letter, but we also have a hospital issue in the sense that, and their reasoning or their excuse, if you want to call it that, was that they're changing to a new recording system. So because of that, acute care is reduced in here at our hospital. So my understanding is, where I might be able to confirm that we're down to 10 beds. That's it. So we have some hospital issues in terms of what this hospital is becoming or turning into. I mean, we have this great brand new facility and it's becoming a Band-Aid station. So I think we need to voice our concerns regarding that. And I don't know if it's a separate letter or if it's a letter tied into this because it's going to Tyler Shandro, the ministers, AHS, etc. But I think we need to pursue that and voice our concerns at what's happening at our hospitals.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because I know Chris brought that to my attention this afternoon, as a matter of fact, that there's been some bed closures in our hospital. The rumor he heard was it was due to a lack of staffing, and I know Chris was looking in, trying to get some more information, he said, so sort of going to wait and see what he found out, and we could share it from there. But yeah, I don't know anything more about it than that. So I'll turn it over to Councillor Gilroy.
To be honest, right now, they're doing a specialized, or they're finishing off actually the specialized training for a one-shop information stop, and they've finished a lot of the training for that right now, and that's up. That's probably the one you're thinking of, Donna. There are some major upheavals right now in our hospital. Some due to right now we have been depending upon a lot of contract staff, people coming from Calgary and other parts. Some of them are coming up here, finding the workload too heavy and trying to find spots back in their own place, and we've had that problem all along. Which causes shortages, which causes some people to work even longer hours. So there's a lot of upheavals right now, even up to management levels, and we're just trying to find out what is happening. A good example, when you talked about acute care, is they did training from, I think it's the 10th of April to the 30th, and a call went out through volunteer services for people who could help acute care while there are people trained to be on this new provincial-wide service. And so they actually asked volunteers to go in there and answer phones and help answer call bells, stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of things, unfortunately, very challenging to pin down, but we're trying to see how all this is working out, and trying to, once again, some of those beds may also be because of surgery. The mayor can attest to the fact that we had heard 10 beds were actually earlier set aside because they didn't have the surgical nurses, and so they cut it down by 10. And so there's a whole bunch of different things in the works right now, and if I can get a handle on it, which I'm trying to right now, and I'm sure the mayor's trying as well, we should be able to come back with a better answer for you probably by next meeting. At least I can try to get something better for you by next meeting. But I think we also just talked to the Minister of Health like 2 weeks ago and told him about the hospital shortages in staff and that. And I think we need to give him a little bit of time to work on it too before we send a letter and convolute this one. I think we need to be specific with issues so that we don't get issues lost. So
Yes, specific with issues, and that's a good segue to come back to the letter, because we need to send that letter out, and if it's a joint letter, fine, but keep it simple. I can speak from experience. The past 10 years, I've either had to travel to Edmonton or to Peace River, just recently to Peace River, to get the intramuscular stimulation that I get in my legs, needles injected into my knee and my whole legs. This is the first time I've been able to do it in the town of High Prairie with a physiotherapist that is registered and is educated in that application. The first time in 10 years. And now they're talking about all of this upheaval and potentially closing. I see people every day that I go lined up, are seniors. This facility, if it closes, they'll be traveling all the way to Edmonton or all the way to Peace River or all the way to Grand Prairie. And that would be shameful if it happened. That's it. You're muted, Brian.
Sorry about that. How many times does that happen in a Zoom meeting, right? We should keep track and see if we can make it through without having that happen once. You guys all saw the email from Mr. Cummings, and you know his idea is this isn't an imminent closure, but I still think we need to be a little proactive and make sure everybody realizes that there is a difference between rural and major city hospitals and the services that you can get in major urban centers. So that was the intent of this letter, is just to make sure that they're aware that we're watching these things. And I agree with Councillor Danaka's statement that we've got to make sure our hospital keeps its services and not become a Band-Aid station. Okay, any other comments, questions on this motion? So just for our recording secretary, we added it's a joint letter with Big Lakes County, and we added to include Verna Yu of AHS. So there's the two amendments to the administration's recommended action. All in favor? Okay, it's carried. Moving on to item 8.3, asset replacement schedule. This is the addendum. Can I get a motion on this one? Everybody's waiting. Okay, I can make the motion here. The motion reads that administration complete an asset replacement schedules for the Sports Palace and the Curling Club, plus the roof of the Gordon Buchanan Center and the HVAC and structural pillars at the Aquatic Center. And perhaps I'll turn it over to our CAO and he can give some background on this a little bit more. And
thank you, Your Worship. So I think everybody is aware that the region and the community have invested a lot in our recreation facilities. And about 15 years ago, there's you built another arena with grand plans of replacing the sportsplex and potentially curling rink at some point, and that was all in part of the design. Since that time, we really haven't enacted on any plans to proceed in any direction. What has come to light, though, is that specifically the Sports Palace, it's been talked about before, it needs quite a bit of repair. Things like we've talked about, the ice pad is on its last legs. That's approximately $300,000. We've got heating systems where furnaces, a couple of them were 60s models, and some are the 80s. And we've got some the tar and gravel roof. We've got some leaks there that's reaching 40 years in age and is leaking. So we've got lots of issues, and one of the things that we need to understand is how much life is left in that building, and or what would it cost to keep that thing going for another 10 or 15 years. And so administration recommended to Joint Recreation Committee a while ago to actually do an asset review, asset replacement schedule, so we can get a really good handle on the state of those two structures. So we can put a plan together, what trees specifically require some immediate investment. So we don't want to ask for bits and pieces here and there and find out that something is seriously wrong that requires a $3 million adjustment. So this request is simply to hire a firm to come in and do that asset replacement schedule, so it gives us some better information to make informed decisions on what next steps we should take with regards to those two facilities. So hopefully that gives a bit of a background on why this request is coming forward. And if you have any questions, I can hopefully answer them.
One of the things that I can add, I think, just to that, is that the cost is $13,800 for them to do it. However, I believe that the county may cover half of that. They did express that they might. I mean, it's not passed yet, but we did ask them, and it is looking promising that they might cover half of that. But regardless, it's our facilities. We need to get it done. But we might be able to recover half of the costs. Councillor Stenhouse.
So I have an understanding that this has been done before twice. We've had someone come in and we've got conflicting information. One says there's 3 years left to the arena, the other one says there's 15 years left to the arena. Are we hiring the same firm? Or is this going to be a different firm?
No. This is a different firm. We got the quote from MPE. That's a different firm.
Okay. Because, like I said, we've had two different reports and two different replies.
Yep. The last one was, I think, 2015. I'm pretty sure that was the date on the last one. It's something we could use as a benchmark, but I mean, we got to make some big decisions, big dollars, very, very, very soon. And so, I think for, this price, it's not great. I mean, 13,000 is nothing to, just, we don't want to throw it away, but, we're at the stage where, I know I've brought this up before, the ice surface in the Sports Palace has a lot of brine leaks. They keep patching them. Basically what happens is, imagine like there's a whole bunch of lines that are running the full length of the ice. And what happens is those start to break. Shifting, frost heaves, whatever. And so what happens is we don't replace them. We don't fix them. We actually just clamp them off. So what that means is there's fewer lines that are carrying the brine to keep the ice frozen. And in this one particular area, unfortunately, I can't tell you how many, but there's a few lines back to back to back that have broke. And so we know if one more of those lines break on either side, the ice won't freeze anymore. Now I saw it firsthand in the fall when they were trying to put the ice in. It was having a hard time freezing. So it is on its last legs. And I don't want to come to council with the $300,000 ask when there's a lot more problems. Because again, that last report was, 6 years old. But we are really hitting that. It needs money. It needs some, the roof is leaking. The tar and gravel, as indicated earlier. The one piece is around $85,000. Got that quote last year, but now the second tier tar and gravel roof is also leaking. We know a patch fix is $13,000, but we know that the tar and gravel roof is past its age life, like well past its age life. So do we patch it with $13,000, or do we fix it for 100 and whatever it is? So I think it's really important that we do this to get a really good understanding of, what are we going to do? What's council going to do with this, these structures? It's big dollars we're entering into.
Okay, Councillor Gilroy.
I see the need for it. But what I'm also seeing is that it's coming out of, I believe it's coming out of funds that are unrestricted funds. And this council's had a major problem, as far as I'm concerned, over the last number of years of making a budget, and then suddenly we have a whole bunch of stuff coming out of unrestricted, or adding to our budget and stuff like that. I think we need to, as much as this is an important thing, and it will help us in the long run, I think we also need to be very aware of any other major spending. If we're looking at an extra $300,000 to do any repairs, I don't think it's fair to our treasurer or to our CAO if we as a council keep saying yes to everything, whether the county is going to pay for some of it or not. I think we need to be very careful on how we spend these dollars, because at the same time, I know that there are people in this community who have had their power turned off by the town and others, and we just can't afford to just tax our people out of existence here. And so I agree with doing this if it's going to save us money in the long run, but I think the council better be very careful on whether we're running or not, on how we are going to spend any more money right now in this economic one. I think we need to be very careful here. So just a heads up on there that I'm very concerned about us not focusing on a strict plan, but just jumping into the immediate, and it's gonna bite us in the end.
Okay, any other comments on this? Seeing none, we have the motion to approve them to go ahead and, sorry, did you have another comment, Councillor Long?
Just I guess an add-on to Councillor Gilroy. Do we have an idea of what, if we're looking at 400,000 plus, how is this going to impact the taxes? How is it going to get paid? We're going to pull out reserves. I know we may have possibilities to help with Big Lakes, which would be greatly appreciated. But knowing how tight things are for us right now, every nickel is going to be added on, and it's going to cost, and taxes are already starting to go up, or discussions have them go up. How are you paying for this?
I think things, we do need a plan. And I would not bring this forward if we weren't in a situation of being at that cusp of, say, roofs leaking. And one of the roofs are the inside of one of the areas. We're not proceeding with fixing it because we know if we put the new drywall up and stuff, it's going to get wrecked again. So it's just, I hear you loud and clear. Just to give you an idea, 1% tax increase is only $32,000. So just to do the ice pad, if you were to do it 1 year, which you wouldn't do, but if you would, that's 10%, right? We're not saying, I don't think I would ever come forward and ask that, but we do need to have a better financial plan. But building some of this administration, kind of the facts as to where our infrastructure is, at least then we can make some informed decisions. Like going forward, and maybe it's a bit unfortunate, especially with that the sports palace and stuff. We didn't have you as council can make decisions. Do we keep running until the plant or another brine leak occurs, and just say that's okay. But you need the information, I think, to make a good decision. But administration would recommend yes, that we'd be talking double-digit increases without a doubt. So I don't, you wouldn't get that recommendation from administration.
Councillor Stenhouse.
So this brings us back to our strategic plan. And as council, we need to make some serious decisions here on our services and what we're going to have, because things are deteriorating. There's serious decisions here on what we have to offer.
Okay. Councillor Danaka.
I agree with Councillor Stenhouse. I think this whole COVID pandemic has forced us and a lot of municipalities to really rethink their finances and what they can and can't afford. And I think we all really need to seriously be prepared to make some big, tough strides. We will be a small town that's dying because people are leaving, etc. Because we have nothing, because we can't afford all of these luxuries that we've got. And yes, people wanted the pool, and yes, things need to be repaired at the Sports Palace. And prior councils that we've been on, we've addressed some of those issues, or tried to. And this reminds me of our first term when we were dealing with the lift station and some of the infrastructure around that. And as Vern had said at one point, that fix could have been $120,000, but the council of the day chose not to do it and pushed it off, and then it came on our plate and it ended up being $3 million. So, unfortunately, we're the ones that are dealing with what we're looking at now, and it sucks, because honestly, you really have to make some tough, ugly decisions in this budget, and it's not going to be.
Do you have anything different to add, Councillor Gilroy, or are you just going to go on the same?
No, it's
here?
slightly different, because
Okay.
we can't, no offense to, we can't fully depend upon all these great products and projects from the county if they could not afford to give us the money in the first place. If they couldn't afford to give us the couple $100,000, all these major projects that they may want to start or that we may want to start. I just want to be cautious about that. But I am in favor of doing this, because I think it's an important thing as part of a good strategy to know where our assets are.
Yeah, there is the building will be, if we, how much money will it cost to keep it running? Then we can make a better, I think the only one we haven't heard from is Councillor Courtley. I don't know if he wants to, we'll give him his chance and then we'll vote on this one.
All this is just a report to say what state we're in. It's very simple. After that, then we can have all kinds of discussions and carry on about what we plan on doing in the future. This gives us an idea of what we have right now in the situation it's in. So that's all I'm going to say.
Okay, we have the motion is to approve the money to go ahead with getting that replacement schedule done. All in favor? It is carried. All right, moving on to item 10.1, the false alarm bylaw. Can I get a motion on this? Councillor Stenhouse?
That council gives second reading to bylaw 09-2021 alarm bylaw this 13th day of April 2021. Brian, you're up.
I'm up. Oh, this Brian. Oh, okay.
I thoroughly looked through this, and if you grab your papers, I'll just bring you the stuff that I see. Some are grammatical, and some are questions, but I think they're important before we let this thing go through. On page 1 of 5, B, 2B, it says alarm businesses means any persons or corporations who, it should say are engaged, not is. And that's point 1 there. In point 3, as part of the regular business activities, an alarm business will respond to any building or structure in which an alarm, so you have to get rid of the as in there, and the S off respond. I did have a question about, once again, the definition of peace officer in this one and the other one, because I don't believe that it's a well-defined thing if you're mixing our peace officer with an RCMP, because you're asking the RCMP to enforce our bylaws, and that's not their job. So, for example, you're giving them in some of these zones the option to issue tickets, as in 10.2, where it says a peace officer is hereby authorized and empowered to issue violation tickets. That's not the job of the RCMP. I would like that. I'd like to add in something different than the peace officer there, because a peace officer to me is Officer Bloom and any other peace officer we have, and should not be asked to do town stuff. I'll acquiesce to Michael.
So the terminology peace officer is defined in the province so that our peace officers, under the auspices of the provincial government's definition of what a peace officer does, defines what our peace officers do. They are not RCMP, and the RCMP know that they are not peace officers. Peace officers are defined within the Alberta government definitions, and so there's an actual, to say a peace officer means you're talking about Brian, you're not, or Al, you're not talking about an RCMP officer. Does that make sense? It's really well defined within the Alberta government, and as a definition, a peace officer is a town employee, not a federal government employee.
And that's why I'm bringing it up, because these are town bylaws, and so the officials who enforce these have to be town employees when it comes to a bylaw.
Yes.
And so
The RCMP can enforce bylaws. They have that ability too.
but
That's not their role, and they don't want to do it, but they can if they need to.
if you're going by our bylaw, so even if you go to the next one, it has peace officers. I mean, I think we need to get this straight as to whose authority it really is to do these things, and I think it's very important. And I would like to ask if Trevor's still on, if Trevor could explain H2 in the definition, how that's, because that last part gets me, I'm very confused on, where it says any other person subject to direct or indirect control of the organization or individual. Does that include YAC, school, stuff like that? How does that really come across? Because that affects 6.1 and 7.1, that particular definition. So I'd like some sort of response to that, please. And the last one is on 10.2.
No, just let them answer that, and then we'll move on, just so we can do one at a time.
Okay, I have no idea which one you're referring to. Can you guide me on the page, I guess?
Page 2 of 5.
Okay.
It says H under false alarm.
Yeah.
Definition. The number 2 under that, where it says any false alarm which the organization or individual can demonstrate. What are you actually trying to? What are you actually trying to say? Are you saying that we can charge individuals or not charge individuals? I just didn't quite understand how 2 was fit into the H, or H2 fit together.
Basically, what that is stating that a person or individual that is part of that organization. So basically, if I walk in off the street and I walk into Yak and pull the alarm, why should the building owner be held responsible for that?
Okay, if that's at 6.1, which is on 3 of 5, says that when a false alarm is activated, subject to section F of section 2, the organization or individual having care and control of the alarm site shall upon demand pay a response fee. That's for the peace officer. It's 6.1. And then 7.1 has to do with the fire department doing the same thing. So what I'm understanding from you is if the person who owns the building where the fire alarm is, if they're not responsible because someone walks in off a street, then how can we demand a response fee of the building owner if someone else pulls it?
Well,
Because that's what 7.1 says.
Just wait. Go ahead. You go ahead, Fire Chief, and then Councillor Long can go.
So basically, my understanding of this document would be it's that H2 is protecting the structure owner from somebody randomly walking in and pulling fire alarms and then getting charged. That is living on the premise is doing that.
Councillor Long?
Just as a point of order, when we have these types of questions, and so many questions, it's not fair, I think, and I've brought this up before, but it's not fair to start grilling the chief on this section and that section, how it pertains to those are things that give him an opportunity, and you sit down and talk before the meeting, have the answers so you don't have to go through all of this, because it's not fair to any of whether it's Vern or whether it's Rod or the chief, to have them grilled, get those answers clarified before the meeting. That's all. It's just a courtesy thing, and I always cringe when we start grilling him over questions that some of us find already answered. But to expect him to have all the answers right there, it's not fair. And it probably would have saved a lot of time as well. But that's all. Just a concern.
Okay. Well, I think there's a line, as long as it's not too many, it's good. You can have a question or two, but yeah, I mean, some of these things we can deal with ahead of time for sure if you've got the time to do it beforehand. I agree.
Or if you're given plenty of time. But the last one I had on that one was I would like to propose in 10.2 we actually put a prescribed time down. Because it says that if it has not been paid within the prescribed time, I think we need to put an actual time in there. And it seems like everything else is 120 days. So I think we should put an time frame in there, as opposed to prescribed time, which leaves it to
A violation ticket. Now, I haven't seen the violation tickets from the town, but I can say when I was a forest officer and was issuing violation tickets, right on the ticket it said, here's where you have to pay. If you don't pay in this prescribed time, then you have to go to court, those kinds of things. So I think that prescribed time is right on the violation ticket. It's on the tag itself.
not a problem.
Okay, Councillor Stenhouse?
Okay, so I see both of your points, Councillor Gilroy and Councillor Long, but these are our bylaws. We need to make them clear so that people understand them. Because in interpreting them, if we can't interpret them, how do we expect the general public to interpret them and follow them? So I would prefer some clearer wording on especially H2. Like, there's a lot of words in there, and we can't make sense of whose responsibility that is. So if the 6 of us can't figure that out at a town meeting, how do we expect our citizens to figure that out?
Okay, let me just back up. Which item is a concern?
H2. There's a lot of wording there on page 2 of 5. There's a lot of wording and I can't figure out what it's trying to say. I think we should send this.
We haven't had, like, since the last meeting where we had this false alarm and then the fire protection bylaw, we've had no bylaw meeting to review this. This was done administratively, I believe, or whatever. I don't know who did this, because I don't believe we had a bylaw meeting regarding this. Did we, Councillor Gilroy?
Most of what we did last, we had a great time with Trevor. We ran through more of the fees structure and the penalties of that. We didn't really run through this much, and in fact, even with the next one, I just picked up the amended copy this afternoon when it was given to me.
And
So
we
that was
have
just changed.
our CAO was shaking his head. He has a different thought here.
Well, so these reports, both these fire reports, did go to the bylaw committee. It was about, when our last one was that 2 months ago, I think? So they did go to the bylaw committee, and then they came to council a month ago, and so there were some requested changes, and we attempted to incorporate those changes. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that it did go to the bylaw committee. I mean, that was about 2 months ago now, maybe 2.5. But it did. It didn't go back to the bylaw committee after the last council committee. Just went to the bylaw committee once.
Yeah, yes, that's what I meant. We reviewed it, and then it went to changes that were requested. It never did come back to the bylaw.
Yep. I agree.
Okay, so with all of what I've heard so far, we have some issues around H2. The wording is a little confusing. The intent is good. For H2, there was a couple of grammatical errors. But other than that, is there any other issues with this?
I don't want to belabor the point on H2, but if you read it as any false alarm which the organization or individual can demonstrate was actually caused by somebody else, other than all of the contractors, subcontractors, employees, or people that are authorized to be in that facility. Otherwise, they're not liable for any fees or being charged for a false alarm if little Johnny sitting in, or in this case, when Lucas was 2 or 3, and he pulled the fire alarm at the IGA after his mom was saying, "Don't touch that," and he did. So at the time wouldn't have been held responsible for that. It was, condemned straight was actually caused by an act of somebody else. If you take all those other words, which are descriptors to try to cover their arse, right, and to cover ours, then it's pretty easy. It's pretty simple. It's everybody or anybody except for those other people that are listed.
Yeah, and okay.
Makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, we can certainly clean up the wording a little bit around that to make it easier to understand. Simple, plain language. But those are the only issues around this?
Okay.
Just those few things? Okay, so we have a motion to give second reading. I think that we can vote on that, and then we can take it. Administration and or the bylaw committee can do the last tweak on it and bring it back one last time. But let's try to get it so we're not going through this too many times again. If there is anything else, make sure you bring it to the attention and it gets addressed so that there's no more back and forth 3 times. Okay, so we have a motion for second reading. All in favor? Opposed? I think that we're going to the fire protection bylaw. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Gilroy?
I'd like to make a motion that council send this one back to the bylaw committee. There are a number of errors in it. And to respect Councillor Long, I will not go through all of them, but there are a lot in the one I was given this afternoon, which is the newest one. So I'd like to make a motion that goes back to bylaw.
Okay, I guess my question is I guess that we wanted before we had addressed some issues. Are these different issues than we had talked about before?
The fire guardian is still in here, for one, and it was supposed to have been all taken out. There are, once again, there's a number of, for example, definitions I believe are contradicted down in a committee meeting with clear. So there's.
We'll make sure we get input from the chief as well.
You want me to talk or comment? I'm sorry. I'm confused because this was brought forward, and Rod and I sat down and we took all of the recommendations from the last council meeting. We made the changes. We searched out any of the articles that had the fire guardian there. They were removed. I'm at a loss, so I'll leave it at that.
I will explain it then, please. Just a couple of them. There are, for example, I've got the latest copy that was given me today. 11.4, which is page 9 of 15, talks about sections 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4, and there are no 12.3, 2, 3, and 4 when I look in this document. So I have no idea where that one came from. That's one example. So 11.4 on page 9. Please correct me if you can find 12.2, 12.3, and 12.4 in this document.
Nope.
Okay, there are no, I'm not going to go into spelling mistakes. I'm just not going to go there. But there are, okay, because I don't want to go there on that one, but there is also, just as one other example, when you talked about the Guardians, I believe I saw, and I circled it.
It's under
But
you,
it does-
Brian, it's
What?
you. It's on page
Oh.
3 of 14. The fire guardian is referred to under public park site. Page 3 of 14.
Yes, page 315, 315, you public park site fire, and it talks about as approved by a fire guardian. And you had said that all fire guardian stuff was being taken out. So I mean, there's a couple in here, and I'm sorry, but there's just some wording that I think we need to clean up in the bylaw committee, and I believe that we could do that very well and very quickly in a bylaw meeting. Because there's some disconnects where I think you've taken out some stuff, but there are areas where we haven't taken out of the actual work. So that's why I'm asking for it to go back to committee.
Fair enough.
Okay. Any other comments on this? All right, let's have it come back and ready to go. So we have a motion to put to the bylaw committee. All those in favor? It's carried. And moving on then to our CAO's written report and action list. Can I get a motion on that? Councillor Stenhouse?
The council received the CAO's broad-basing report and action list for information.
All right. I will turn it over to our CAO for any highlights, lowlights, and then we'll get some questions for you.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest news in this that isn't even in the report is that we have had some COVID issues within the corporation. We have a lot of people that are needing to quarantine, and we have multiple illnesses, and so we're down quite a few staff. I think we're probably down close to 10. I think if I were to add them up, so it's been I think a lot of pressure is being put on some of our remaining soldiers, and I just like to give them a tip of the hat to trying to keep things going, because there's certainly a public works specifically is down. Well, fortunately, we had a couple people on vacation last week, so they didn't have self quarantine, so they had a bit of a break before they came back. But certainly that's a pretty critical area to the corporation. I think I'm just going to ask. This is probably jinxing us, but everybody keep their fingers crossed that there's no snowstorms or anything like that. So I think that's the key thing. That's not in report, but is really impacting a lot of people here. So Other than that, I'll leave it open for questions.
All right, questions for our CAO?
Not so much.
Go ahead, or comments, absolutely. Yep, go ahead, Councillor Long.
And I was just going to say thank you to everybody. I know that everybody's doing as best they can, and I commend all of you, and thanks a lot for the leadership. And it's a tough time for everybody. But a good job. That's it.
Okay, anybody else? Ron, I was just going to ask, I know earlier that, there was, the Public Works was staggering and having different work crews so that they weren't overlapping, so we didn't lose so many. Did we stop doing that? And is that how we got so many?
So we never really staggered Public Works that much. We looked more on the utility side. They did a little bit more staggering there, not so much on the road side.
Okay.
So,
I want to give kudos to them. I saw, they were out on the street sweeper today, and that's great to see. It's a sign of spring. I love to see the street sweeper out. That was great. But I guess I'm just looking forward to, how do we prevent this re-happening again? I don't know what we can do, but hopefully there's some ways that we can reduce how many people are missing.
It was an unfortunate incident, and the positive side of include all of Public Works, utility and the roadside. There is some really good cross training there, which it's not great because we're down so many, but at least we have some coverage, which is really positive. I really got to hand it to the guys for doing that piece of it. But it certainly was disappointing, and we've got to probably be a little bit more diligent. I know there are a lot of safety measures put in place. You go over to Public Works and you see how they have set up tables, etc. And at the end, there was one positive case, but because these people came in contact with them, maybe it was even for a few minutes. Maybe none others are positive, but especially with the variants, you've got to follow the process and make sure it doesn't get worse. So, we will look at our processes, see if there's some change we can do. As even one of the things we're doing internally within the office is trying to get people to work from home. But honestly, the ones that work at home, sometimes they still got to come into the office to do certain things, and we can try harder. It's just it's bad. The virus is bad, and we've taken extra precautions. We'll look see if we do some more, but I know even in the office here, we've tried. We did pretty good, but I know a couple of, four can actually do a lot of their work, not in the office, but they still come in the office at least once a week, every one of them, to do different things. We're not set up well enough to completely depart the office environment. And then as far as Public Works, they got to do work sometimes in pairs or whatever. A lot of their work isn't done just in isolation, and if you've got a task to do and you need two people to do it, and it's hard manual labor. It's not like it's sitting down. You're breathing hard, so you really, when you look at the health order, when you're doing recreation, you're supposed to stay 2 to 3 meters apart. These situations, they can't stay that distance. see additional measures we can put in place, because our staff are our most valuable assets, and things that we can do to improve their safety is critically important. We'll try to do. Hopefully, we come out of this one and we can learn from it. And
in contact with somebody that's tested positive. It's a very easy thing, so that you would never think of. But I guess the other thing I'm just worried about, is there any concern that we won't be able to deliver the services that our residents need, the water, the sewer, and the gas? Those ones specifically, I just want to make sure we should be all right there. The roads, I'm not as worried if we don't sweep the streets or we don't clean some snow. That I'm not as worried about, but the main services, I'm just wondering if there's any concerns there.
Vern's fairly confident that on urgent issues and keeping the essential services going, that he can do it. I can tell you, he is looking a bit ragged. But after day 2 of no staff, he's fairly confident. As long as we don't have too many, I don't want to jinx things, because we know what happened 2 months ago when somebody mentioned some bad words. Jinx the process and other things occur. But we'll be okay as long as things, keep calm, and we've got enough to make sure people will have water and people can still flush toilets.
Okay, Rod, I don't know, but maybe you can check if Arlen's in the way back on, but you could just check with him. And just another comment, I think Vernon is probably a little ragged because he had such a wild vacation there in the Okanagan. It's probably nothing to do with getting back here.
He did a lot of plumbing, so he's now prepared to do additional work here. So it's kind of a training program. Yeah, Vernon said I said the right things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't see anybody in the
waiting room
here.
Okay. Now, just one other on your report before we move on. I know we had the Joint Recreation Committee, and there was talk that they were going to be doing the grouting. Perhaps you can give us an update on how that grouting's going in the pool.
Yep. So good news is we got contract, and there is basically 2 pieces to the contract, what we call our surge tanks, and some drain outs. That's basically the stuff that people don't see, but you need to protect that concrete, otherwise it does start chipping away, and you've got a very expensive fix. You have to start ripping out floors, that type of thing. So that is 100% done. The regrouters, they're still on site. They got to be getting close. They've been there for almost a week. I think they came last Tuesday after the long weekend. I haven't been over there for a few days, but it's going well. We had a couple interesting things, but we're working through them, and so hopefully that will be done here within the next couple days.
Okay, thank you. And doing those tanks, just like Councillor Danaka says, we're doing the small fix now to save a big fix later. Councillor Stenhouse, you had your hand up?
So, with this COVID outbreak, I understand that we still have the ice in and have hockey players. Should we have an exposure the maintenance and the rent center.
So, yeah, I have to do a call to some of our contract with the Red Wings is that we could terminate the contract within 24 hours, and that was one of the reasons we put that in the contract. Just in case we had a COVID outbreak and couldn't get staff to operate the arena, we could get out of our obligation to keep that ice service in. So, from a contractual perspective, we're okay. Obviously, from a personnel side, you never want to see, your team members ill, that type of thing. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Gilroy?
Rod, I noticed it says work on recreation manager position, preparing to post. Can you just give us a little bit of background on that? What responsibilities, how it came about, where the money is coming from? The thing, because I don't remember hearing about this until I just read it. I'm sure the pool, but I did.
Went through the 2021 budget. One of the things we talked about was a partial reduction in an FTE, because prior to this year we had the two pool managers as well as that programmer type piece.
Rod, can you just check for
Yeah, he is there now. Sorry. Yeah. Management stuff, but we did indicate that we potentially would look at amalgamating some of the positions. I went forward to the recreation, and so on that, I think the amount of work that we put into the recreation area this past 8 months has been phenomenal. And really, if I could turn back the time, I'm not sure I would. I probably should have filled this position earlier. Say the amount of work that was involved in these past 8 months from the town staff has been exorbitant. And we just need some horsepower there to lead that charge. We're also looking at likely the facilities, the aquatic center will likely open probably midsummer, depending on how the variants and the COVID situation gets, and we need to have our leadership positions filled. So the leadership position that we are going to fill is going to be a bit of a hybrid. We do need some horsepower on the budgeting, forecasting, leadership at the facilities. So the job description is going to include that piece. So they're going to be, we're likely potentially going to call the superintendent, much like what Vern is. He looks after the utilities, but he also supervises the roads. Well, responsible for some of that, the budgeting of overall the recreation side plus leadership, but also on the aquatic. What's our CFO's time and myself's time on the recreation side? It is very time consuming. It has put back a lot of projects. I know I've mentioned to this group before, even from the budgeting perspective from the town, because the amount of time that we've had to spend on the recreation side has put us back on some of the town business. And you know, it was okay for a while, but it's yeah, you know, maybe if I turn back the time, I should have maybe made this decision over the last few bullets, put on some people picking up the extra work. You know, and hopefully that answers your
Had a question? Go ahead, Councillor Long.
So, I don't know how pertinent this is. The first question, I guess, is we're going to try to hire internally first before we put this out to tender?
No, I believe in open competitions always. So it's the intent to advertise on a couple of these recreation boards websites.
So where are we then in the, insofar as the policy, you were looking at creating a policy that would restrict, I guess, nepotism or discourage hiring family? Not wanting to have one family member.
So, well, this is this is interesting. We have some template policies that were sent to the managers for discussion about January. I'm pretty sure it was around January. Management group's note was that it was for matters only to discuss because they're somewhat template documents. After our review, our intent was to provide staff the opportunity to provide feedback. So we're not. It hasn't. We haven't. We have meetings every 2 weeks as far as the management group. I think our meetings are scheduled for almost 2 hours, but we haven't made it through those draft procedures / policies yet. So, again, anything you're hearing with regards to where we're at, I guess nothing has been approved, and in fact, the management group hasn't even completely gone through one of the there's like 4 different personnel type policies / procedures. So I'm surprised that it's out there because it's not again, we haven't finished reviewing them.
So my only concern is that when we're looking at these types of issues and these types of policy changes, that we are a small town, and it's our goal as counselors, as parents, as grandparents, it's our goal to make sure that we get our kids educated and they go away, but we always would like to be able to think that we can encourage them to come back and take those skills that they've been given and apply it to their hometown. And so some of the opportunities would be, if a policy like this was to be put into place, would be a real deterrent. Per push here and travel. It saves us. So yeah, it's something that I'd like everybody to be cognizant. And as it sits as a policy, I'll be scrutinizing it really, really carefully because I don't want it to be restrictive to our residents and to our kids. That's all.
Okay,
So
anything
as
else?
I indicated, it was a document.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit off the topic, so just going back to the CEO's report, is there any other issues around the report or the action list? Councillor Gilroy.
Actually, I was just kind of curious about what kind of reception Peavine gave you regarding the old hospital site and intersection.
So, I think what I can say, positive. Yeah, I'll say things are positive on that side. We also talked about the old hospital site and the potential of demolition, right? Like the province has announced that it's going to be demolished. They were looking in potentially I don't know if I'm using proper terms here, but subcontracting of the demolition, because they can do certainly pieces of the work. That's what we heard from the minister before. You know, we really want to encourage our local businesses to, you know, even if they can't get the full contract, to be subcontractors to the big contract. And Peavine was basically just looking to see, you know, maybe what things the organization as a whole could do to assist them in that process. And so we've agreed to speak again here in a couple of weeks on some additional matters. So I'm just putting the plug out there for all businesses. I know I've heard this council on numerous occasions attempting to promote our local businesses in doing the participating in the demolition of the old hospital. I mean, I can't say this, that, you know, there have been discussions with the province on, you know, attempting to narrow the scope of that pending contract to, I guess, maybe favor more local businesses. That is something that they can't do. It's embedded in all their policies. They are unable to do anything with regards to attempting to restrict the competitiveness of a bid. You know, they did come back though, as I think we've heard before, that you know, local contractors should be in good position because they don't have to mobilize equipment, that type of thing, but from a promote kind of local businesses. So, yeah.
Councillor Stenhouse?
Is the contract actually posted out now?
My understanding is that it isn't. I think the last discussion I had with the province was probably, I lose track of time, I think about a month ago. But when I talked to them, no, it was not scheduled to be released within a month or two. They had some more work to do. So the impression I got like a month ago when I talked to the individual that was working on the bidding process, I would be extremely shocked if it was out. It sounded like it was at least they had a bunch more work to do. Like they were hoping to move fast, but it was not within 30 days. That was the impression I got.
Rod, some other potential businesses, anything to report there?
Well, there are there certainly are rumblings. I'd call them positive rumblings on the development front. Nothing that I think that is, well, nothing that is absolutely official. I can say that, but there are people, corporations out there that are looking at opportunities, but nothing that is official.
Okay, anything else for the CAO? Seeing none, we had the motion from Councillor Stenhouse to receive his report for information. All in favor? We lost Councillor Long for a bit. Oh, he chimed in. Good. He's not too far away.
Not too far, I'm here.
Yeah. We'll move on to the FCSS report. Motion on that. Oh, is that Councillor Danaka?
I'll
Did you
make
put
the
your finger
motion.
up?
Council received the March FCSS report, yearly stats, and program posters for information.
Okay, any questions or comments on the FCSS report? All right, seeing none, all in favor? All right, good. All right, we'll get through our reports and then we'll take a break. So we'll start with Councillor Danaka.
No report.
Okay.
You'll notice in your email that the piece that's basically they're sending out a general letter of support that all rural areas get better broadband, which is a win-win. That they're supporting it. Our local phone in ahead and book your stuff, plus a lot of stuff online, and they've been doing a great job with crafts for the kids and family. There's a whole bunch of things that I'm hoping that you guys, they did send in their audited financials, both to Big Lakes County and to our treasurer, our CFO. And so the library is doing well that way. We had a broadband meeting, which we have the next one, I think, in the 19th. It's like a couple weeks away. And I was at the Minister of Health meetings. I was at an Aboriginal interagency meeting today where they actually have some students and funding for the students to be hired at businesses. So if there are some that, including our town, that would like to have funded students or a good portion of it funded, we can get that for them as well. Other than that, most of mine have been extra committee meetings, such as working with MMSA, which we are going to be there at the end of the month. We are hosting it, but because of COVID, it's costing us nothing. But they will be talking about all the different things going on, including their new director, who the old one was there for 41 years, and she's retiring. So other than that, pretty much I'm just ramping up over the next little while. I'll have some announcements from the Lesser Slave Lake Watershed next time, and a few others. So I move my verbal report for information.
All right, questions or comments for Councillor Gilroy? Seeing none, all in favor of receiving his report? Okay, it is carried. Councillor Long?
Nothing to report, but just a question regarding the AUMA conference. And do we want to talk about that here?
Sure.
So Councillor Gilroy received an invite as well. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah.
Or Brian?
Yes, and I asked if we were going to be doing it.
So the
I'm
question
sorry, you asked
is,
what?
he was just wondering if anybody was going to attend, and I'm wondering, I guess, as a good time as any, is anybody got plans and the ability to attend?
Yes.
You can attend. Okay,
It's a summer
perfect.
caucus, and I think I would be ready to do this as well. I just wanted to find out how we were financing it.
Did you get your answer from the email?
I do not remember seeing an email that said that how we were going to decide if one goes or how it's going to be paid or that. I'm just ready to go no matter what. I just wanted permission to register.
Yeah, I think either could attend on that one and just ask Nancy, she can get you registered for it. Or you could register yourself and then claim it on an expense claim, either or.
That was my only concern for the next upcoming time. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Well, it'd be good to have a
nonverbal report.
good. It'd be good to have a couple of people there. So we'll move his report. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to myself. Been to a few. I did attend the West Prairie River assessment, and that was done by the Watershed Council. And it was overall, they had said that in a nutshell, that the watershed is in pretty good shape. There are some areas, 94% of the land is in good shape. There's the 6% that they could need to do some repairs and restoration to, but that was good news. We have the I was sent an invite or an invitation to give a message for the Northern Lakes College virtual convocation. It's going to be a written message, so I will submit something for that. We had the intermunicipal meeting, and for that one, just some of the highlights with it. We already talked about the physio letter. We talked with STARS about the ability to see if we can keep moving ahead on a helipad at the hospital. So I know that, so with STARS' help, we're going to keep investigating that, see what we can make happen there. It will probably be nothing to do with the province, because they've made it pretty clear that they don't want to have it there, but we're going to see if it's municipally run, if we can do something there and what those costs would be. So that's very early discussions. We talked about, this was that combined fire pump and rescue unit, and that'll be coming to our council in the future. But basically, as a cost-saving measure and efficiency, they're looking at combining the pumper and the rescue unit, into one unit and going from there. So I'll leave it at that. That's basically, in a nutshell, what they were proposing. The Visitor Information Center online is, the town is reviewing the information right now. It's going to be going back and should be up and ready fairly soon. Yeah, oh, I see Rod saying, yeah, we reviewed it, and then the county's got to get their people to put it up on the web, and then we can link to it. So hopefully that'll happen pretty quick, because we know tourist season is coming. We're waiting on some final changes for the RCMP contract, and then once those are received, then we'll be able to make the final changes to the ICF document and sign and update that. We talked about joining the Alberta Rural Connectivity Coalition. Both the town and the county were making motions to join that particular organization. Basically, that organization just says that all rural areas should have access to good, high-speed connectivity at a reasonable cost. So it makes perfect sense to put our name behind that one. And I believe we'll probably get a motion in the future from our CAO to join that. So that was the intermunicipal. We also had the Joint Recreation Committee meeting. We've talked about a lot of the issues there. There was a couple of other issues that were brought up. One of them was a request for lower fees to rent the facility in the summer from a new group in town about cornhole. If anybody's a cornholer. We also had a request.
You just wanted.
We have, there was a request from the Red Wings to prepay weekly versus prepaying monthly. And then we heard about the grouting at the pool. And we've heard about some of the issues at the arena with the leaky roofs and the ice surface. What else can I mention here? Oh, I did attend a town hall with the province and Dr. Hinshaw around COVID and the vaccination program, but all of the stuff in that was just getting, I don't think there's anything that's really to highlight there. They were just answering some of the questions from municipalities. And Heart River Housing, they're in the final stages of signing the contract with Stuart Olson. They've agreed on a price. There was discussions today on exactly what the contract would look like and the wording in the contract. Stuart Olson is planning on being on site starting in May. So you should see them starting to mobilize first thing in May. And yeah, that's my report. I move my report for information unless there's questions or comments. Councillor Gilroy.
Okay, you talked about combined fire pump and rapid rescue. We already have a rapid rescue. What would happen to that one? Or what's the projection for that?
Well, you know what, I don't want to spend too long on this because we'll have a good long discussion once it's brought forward. But what's happening at this point in time is the pumper truck that belongs to the county is due to be replaced. The county is looking at replacing it, but they wanted to replace it with that rescue truck. Yes, we have a rescue truck, but our rescue truck is due for replacement in a couple of years. So this would save us the cost of replacing that rescue truck in a couple of years. So the idea is It would be a pumper truck, still fully functional, but it would also have the rescue unit, the rescue tools specially built into this pumper. And so it'd be a multi-purpose unit that would save money.
Would it be a shared cost between the county and the town?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay. The other thing is, I was going to say, if anyone wants to, like, the rural connectivity is a really good thing. I spent 2 days at their seminar online, and I've got copies of that. I can pass that to any one of our counselors who wants to hear 2 days worth of rural connectivity that we have previously chatted about. So that it is a good idea there. Okay. I'm not going to grill you today any more than that. I'll be kind.
Councillor Stenhouse?
So the rec committee has approved the arena, keeping the ice in later? Like, wasn't the ice supposed to be let go at the end of March?
Correct. And yes, and we talked about this at the last meeting that we were going to keep it in. Yeah.
I didn't read it in the minutes. I read the minutes from the last meeting, and there was nothing in the minutes about it. That's why I was asking about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And we had verbally basically said that because it's an expansion in services, and it was not costing us anything. It wasn't anything that necessarily had to come to councils for approval. According to the ICF, any expansion or any reductions have to go to councils for approvals, but expansions that don't cost anything, the rec committee can make those, make that judgment or make that call.
Recommendation.
Make that, yeah.
Okay, no, it was not in the minutes from the last meeting. That's why I was asking about it.
Okay. Well, we did bring it up in my report, I believe, so it wouldn't have been in the minutes, somewhat similar to this verbal report.
Okay.
Yeah, and apparently they've got all of their stuff going, and I haven't actually heard, but Rod was working with them to make sure that we're prepaid on everything so that we don't have any issues there. And I'm not sure if, Rod, are we all caught up? Everything's good?
So I'll guess I'll just say we're in the final stages. So things are moving in the right direction. Things are moving in the right direction, and I believe within the next 24 hours. It also took us some time to calculate a bunch of things, so it's progressing positively, and I hope by tomorrow.
Good. Okay.
We're
Good.
done.
There was some issues there that the confusion over which money was being applied to their ice bill and which was going, because we'd asked for some money up front for the additional costs that they had to pay, and they had to give us a deposit. So all of that money has been collected, and we've said that they could pay each week up front. So I believe that's all getting done, and if it's not, then they won't be allowed to play. Anything else? Seeing none, I move my report for information. All in favor? All right. We'll move ahead to Councillor Courtley.
Officially unmuted.
You are officially unmuted.
Officially official. Same meetings. Ditto. I have nothing really to report. You said it all. You took all my thunder.
Did I miss anything?
No, not really. I think you covered everything. I got nothing to add.
Oh, but Judy's got a question for you, though. I'm glad she saved it for you.
Is she?
Go ahead, Councillor Stenhouse.
Did you not attend an airport meeting?
Oh, yes, I did. Yes, I did, Judy. That is one meeting that Brian wasn't there.
Could you enlighten us on the airport meeting, please?
Well, I was letting you bring that thunder. Oh, Judy. Oh, excellent counselor, Judy. Remember? Okay, we had an airport meeting, and yeah, so they're the deer are running wild, and they're trying to control that. We've had a couple near misses with some airplanes. So Fish and Wildlife is out there and assisting the airport manager on how to control and eradicate them. So there's lots of issues with that. Some of the electronic equipment, the AWAS and stuff, is down and not working. So there is some information on some new equipment. Also, there is will be coming to council will be a new update little paving program for some of the places in and around the airport that are in dire need. So, busy place. Fuel consumption's up. Little question on the fuel pricing with carbon tax, but administration looking into that. Did I miss anything, Judy? You sure? If I forget anything, Judy will definitely correct me in a minute.
All right.
Okay. Any questions?
Councilor Gilroy.
Just a quick question.
It's never quick, but
You were
go ahead.
talking. No, you were talking about some paving in that. Are we looking at extra expenses for our airport for our budgeting purposes?
Possibly, but not a lot. There's some options with it. It's not big money, but it is still money, right? So something we have to look at. Again, I think what we kind of looked at as far as a committee, we kind of advised on about, I think it was about $20,000 or $25,000 worth of paving. So of that, are we 50-50 on that, Rod? We would be on that?
Tons.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's what ICF says, isn't it? I think it's 50-50 on stuff like that. So roughly, they wanted to pave more, but we advised not to. So it'll be coming to council. Everybody will be able to see it here soon.
That's what this is for. Hey, do you want to move your report?
I'll move my verbal report for information.
All in favor? Okay, it is the delayed hand. Councillor Stenhouse.
Okay, so I've attended pretty much the same meetings as you guys have. Did the strategic planning at in the chambers, the intermunicipal, the airport. Like Councillor Courtney said, it will be coming. I would like some clarification on that. Is paving considered operational or capital? So I just want some clarification on that. You guys have covered everything, but now it's my turn to make a point. And I would have liked to make this before, with the CAO's report, a point of order. We did not want to take up time discussing our own bylaws, but Councillor Long wanted to discuss a policy that isn't even in the works yet. I just want to make a point of order on that. I move my verbal report for information.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, that's carried. We have a confidential item. So we'll take a break, and it's 9:10. Come back at 20 after. Is that enough time? 10 minutes? Okay, come back in 10 minutes, and we'll go into that one.